What up, what up? Believe in Rams presented by FanDuel. Erin Coscarelli back with you. And with my Super Bowl offensive tackle, Rob Havenstein, joining the fold in a new background. Kind of loving what we got going on. Tell us a little bit. You moved locations. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, moved locations. I figured I've been trying to get the background a little more exciting for everyone. I still got to find a shelf to put the Lombardi on. It's coming soon, so stay tuned. We'll have the Lombardi up there and maybe a couple of other fun jerseys we got posted around the basement here. So, but yeah, we're in the basement and we got the game worn jersey.
Do you rock like the Super Bowl ring wherever you go? Like, how does that work? I mean, when you have something quite fashionable, do you wear it, or does it go somewhere special and it just sort of stays there?
Yeah, it goes directly in the back of the largest, heaviest safe I could technically get in the house. And so that's where it stays. Everyone always asks too when I'm out places, like, did you bring the Super Bowl ring? I was like, I think you guys are underestimating the size and weight and just overall dimensions of this thing. Like, it's not something that you're just wearing, you know?
Yeah.
I can't even close my hand because it's so thick on the sides. I mean, this thing is awesome, but it is massive. And so it stays back there, and maybe for a special occasions, I'll break it out, but I can't wear it the whole time. So when it needs to go into a pocket or a bag, it's like, strapped to the chest with two hands on it at all times. And instead of handshakes, it's elbow bumps. And it's like, I can't take my hands off this thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally a trophy on the hand, essentially. It's like a large, fancy trophy, as it should be.
Yes, it should.
Super Bowl champion tackle, Rob Havenstein, who recently retired, and before retirement was the longest tenured Rams prior to hanging it up. And I do have to ask you, because Rams training camp now officially underway. It started on Sunday, day one. I've been there the past couple of days. I'll share with you some of my observations, but I was curious, this is the first year in 12 years you're not going to be at a camp. Wellness check. How are we feeling right now?
Yeah, it's hitting me a little weird at this time of the year, just kind of seeing day one and day two and day three go by, and the guys out there practicing and kind of just knowing what they're going through and some of the laughs they're having, after, and the struggles of training camp and just the scheduling and being somewhere. But it's it's something I did for 11 years, and it kind of snuck up on me too, because as the kids get going, your schedule kind of goes pretty fast till all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, they reported today, to oh my gosh, they reported, which means they're practicing tomorrow, to they're talking about pads already, and it's the same feeling as I had for 11 years, and now it's just kind of something's just a little missing in my life. But it's it was the right time to step away and just feeling my body. I think my wrist and my knees are just they were prepping to getting ready to hurt at this time of the year. And so I think they're finally coming back down, realizing that I don't have to go punch people for a living and, bend and squat and do all that fun stuff. So we're getting the body back under control, just kind of letting it know that, I don't have to go do training camp this year.
Yeah. Or block a Myles Garrett, which
I couldn't do that anyways.
I mean, but that's what they're going up against, right? That's been the big talk. I'm curious, before we get into sort of some of those things, that the new additions, we also saw Matthew Stafford at his first training camp since 2024, because obviously he was not around last season. I'll get into all of that. But can you walk us through, what a Rams training camp sort of structure ends up looking like? Is it segmented you have a week one, then you graduate into week two, and then what is a McVay-led training camp?
Yeah, it's kind of more by, I want to say, 3 or 4 day blocks. And so that's kind of what you're going for. So I think it's usually like kind of either 2 days on or 3 days on and then an off day or something like that. Or it's 2 days on, a walkthrough and then another practice and then an off day after that. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I usually think. It kind of changes from year to year, kind of depending on really what the start of your season looks like. But it's 3 or 4 blocks. It's really not long. I mean, they're gone, August 7th or something like that. So not a super long training camp. There's obviously no double days, anything like that. But that's kind of the schedule of it. And so it's not extremely taxing, but with a Sean led team, because he knows our opportunities are limited because we can't have double days, you're trying to make the most out of everything. So when it's time to go practice, it's time to go practice. It's time to go fast. If you're going to make a mistake doing it 100% of the time, or 100% effort, and then we'll learn from it in the meeting time we have. But that's kind of the operational of a Sean McVay led training camp.
And it's interesting because some of us in the media element have wondered, sometimes he does early. Today was early. Yesterday, the past 2 days, it's been a start time at 4 p.m. Is that by design?
Oh my gosh, I hate those 4 p.m. practices. Yeah. There's always some science or some reason behind it. I think kind of Sean's biggest thing is, especially with those later practices, it's because you have the whole day to kind of prep and prepare, and you have your walkthrough before practice. So when practice happens, you maybe can erase some mistakes because you've already run through the plays. You've already kind of dove into it for hours and hours. And so maybe you limit some more of the mental mistakes, and then maybe it's more of a physical mistake that you make, which is, the whole reason why there's coaches on the field is to fix those physical mistakes. The mental part is your responsibility as the player. So, I remember they were at like 2 or 3 p.m. and that's kind of the hottest part of the day out there in California. And so when they started at 4, it was just like, man, your whole day was pretty much done with, and then you still got to go prep up for practice and get juiced up. And so there's a lot of caffeine, a lot of coffee drank for those practices. But there's always a rhyme to the reason, and I'm sure it has something to do with their week 1 in Australia.
Well, I remember too, I forget, was it McVay? Yeah, it was McVay. I think he was the one that said he didn't like the Monday night games because you had to wait so long, and it threw off the schedule. And look, this season for the Rams, there's nothing really routine about this upcoming season, right? They have 7 primetime games. They're going to Melbourne, Australia, and they're going to fight the lack of routine. They're going to only, I think, be there for 2 days, as opposed to the Niners, who I think are going to be there the entirety of like the week. But listen, we've had Reggie Scott on, Rams sports medicine, like legend. And he's got that team, I'm sure, totally dialed in when it comes to trying to plan, right? I think it was Reggie, but you also made it, him and McVay are in lockstep just as much. Like they talk all the time. So that side of the game is just as important, right? Just making sure your players are feeling good.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, that's everyone always calls that kind of like your 1% edge. Like if, teams are evenly matched, where can you find that 1% that puts you over the hump? And so Sean is a huge believer in communication of kind of all aspects of trying to get that 1% better. And so if you can do it in a travel schedule or practice schedule, or trying to keep a normal-ish schedule for a schedule that's not normal at all, at least for the players, trick your bodies into it, trick your minds into it, but whatever the schedule is, they're talking about it early and often. There's going to be no surprises on what we're doing, or I see, I'm already thinking about going back to training camp, but what they're doing, why they're doing it is a big thing. The why is very important with Sean, just because if anyone has questions, like, please come ask. We will explain why we are doing it. We'll show you the science if that's what you want, just so people do truly have like a true belief in why they're doing it a certain way. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And that's why I think everything that happens as we move forward in the season, as just an observer of sports psychology, sports medicine, sports business, every move it feels like that the Rams make is calculated, it's methodical, and it is, as mentioned, by design. And one of the things, let's get into some of the headlines that, I'm sure you've heard of, but also wanted to just kind of run them by you, get your take on it. So McVay was asked today about Aaron Donald. And he said at the presser, he said that he's had conversations. There's nothing new to report in terms of news. But one of the things Adam Schefter, there's so many names. Adam Schefter reported, I believe he was on a podcast, I want to say it was today. that Aaron Donald still being on his original Rams deal would mean that he would earn $30 million this season. And it's hard to imagine a guy. How do you figure out a price tag when it comes to a guy that, terrorizes quarterbacks and is potentially the greatest of all time at that position? But I wonder how that ends up getting worked out. I'm sure you're not talking to Les Snead all the time, but an interesting dynamic that Aaron Donald is still on the original contract, which would mean if he were to sign and nothing were to get reworked, it would be for $30 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, those guys are wizards up there.
Yeah.
When we had Adam on the show, he said, like, they're going to figure something out. And so whether it's $30 million, he signs, they rework it right away to, hey, we're going to pay you over the next 15 years. Because if Aaron's coming back, it's not for the money. Aaron's doing fine. Aaron's made a lot of money. It's for the passion because he wants to. So if he comes back and says, I want to play, just because there's a baseline operation of $30 million, like, they're going to figure out a way that works for Aaron and a way that works for the Rams. And, that deal's going to get done because they can do pretty much anything with the numbers, anything they want. So not too worried about that. But it was interesting that he is on his original contract. I kind of forgot about that, to when it comes back, like, that is the number, you do have to hit that number.
Right. And it's so great again to have Rob on. Rob Havenstein, 11-year veteran, Super Bowl champion tackle with the Rams. Your insight is so fascinating because you're right. And that was true. What Adam Schefter said was, he doesn't need he doesn't need more money. I think it's more about, does he have one more in him? Mm-hmm. Does he feel like he could contribute in the way an Aaron Donald can contribute? And so we don't have any news on that front. McVay addressed the media today, was asked about it, didn't give any insight. But an interesting development that, of course, the media loves to make a big deal about, and I'm going to join the fold in that. Vita Vea requested a trade, two-time Pro Bowler, 347 quarterback wrecking ball. Is he bigger than that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going off of
sure.
the old ESPN stat board there. But then speculation got brought up that he wanted to come to a West Coast team. I don't think it was specific to the Rams, but what I find to be the most interesting is odds makers are saying it's, likely to be the Rams. Although I think if Aaron Donald comes back, it's like an embarrassment of riches. You don't see any of that happening. It's unlikely, right?
I would find that unlikely, especially with the conversations with Aaron coming back, because that's $30 million. If Vita Vea requested a trade, he's paid 17 or 18 million base salary this year. And he's, the reason he's kind of doing this is he wants long-term financial support.
Right.
And so he's 31. He's already paid 17 or 18. I can't remember the exact number. So does that look like a 21, 22 per year for a nose tackle? Is he worth it to a team that, doesn't have like you said, the luxury of riches that the Rams are having right now, with potentially Aaron coming back and signing a Myles Garrett? And that doesn't even bring up the other guys that are, going into their fourth year, who are either due for or available for an extension, or up for a new contract next year. And so you can do a lot with the numbers, but you can't go over the cap. So that's something that I don't see as a thing happening. Would it be nice? Sure. Vita Vea is a heck of a player. He's a big man. He's hard to move. 340 seems a little light, 347, whatever it is. So if I was a betting man, I'd bet the over on that. But I mean, Aaron, he is a humongous human being.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen him. I want to say, was it at one of the drafts? He is a monster of a human. But once it's past like 200 pounds, I don't know what, like, what is it actually, in terms of weight? Because like they're all massive men. Right. But I'll take your word for it, because you're kind of you belong in the Titan conversation at 6'8". And plus, you're not over 300 now, are you?
No, not anymore.
But what's interesting is whether it's a Vita Vea or it's an Aaron Donald, I wanted to ask you about this because this was brought up to Braden Fiske when Rams reported to camp. And I had asked him, like, what are your goals this season? So some of his numbers kind of regressed last year. And he brought that up and he said, look, I think I've spent the last year sort of working on myself, focusing on making myself better. He said, I used to chase the stats and the numbers, and now I just want to make it where I improve each day, get a little bit better each day. And I had asked you, I said, who's most at risk should Aaron Donald come back and Vita Vea, whatever? It seems like it would be a Braden. And one of the things that I'm curious how, when you're a player and maybe some of your playing time gets dipped into, how do you, has that ever happened to you? And then how do you navigate it? Because I also think what Braden is potentially, this is an important year for him, coming off a season he feels like he could have done better. And now you potentially have to deal with Aaron Donald, like sharing time and reps with. What do you think a Braden might be navigating, and how would you, have you ever had to go through that?
Yeah. Not in the same exact way as this going on, because offensive line, you know, if you're the guy and you're healthy and you're the starter, you're playing, and so you're playing the whole time. So I haven't really had to deal with that. I've had moments of having an off season about, listen, I'm going to get better. I didn't do as good as I needed to last year, and so I need to work my butt off in the off season and make sure that I'm physically ready to go have a good year. But when it comes to Braden, like when you told me that answer and I went back and watched it, it's just for a young man. I mean, it's such a spectacular answer, because it really is, because in the NFL, you're going to have up years and down years, but like this, the motivation and how you go about it shouldn't really change. Like sometimes the ball rolls your way. Sometimes guys fall into sacks and the numbers are great and whatnot. But what he said, I thought was, very, very mature. And so whether an Aaron Donald comes back or not, I think him having that sort of mindset is, he's not going to count his opportunities, but make his opportunities count. And that's such a big thing in the NFL, because most of it is, most of the battles between your ears anyways. And so if you're out there and you're forcing the coaches to play you because you're out there having production, then that's kind of the battle that you want to have. But obviously when you're talking about an Aaron Donald, that guy's been there, done that. And so if he were to come back, opportunities would, slim down for some of those guys, because they're both three techniques. And Braden hasn't played the nose historically, where he can kind of jump in there with Puna. Kobe Turner has in years past, and kind of also how they really want to structure that defense with that, the addition of a Myles Garrett. And so it's, are they playing more, more 3 down or more 4 down? And so is there an extra line, D lineman on the field? Or they keep it 4 down, put an extra linebacker on the field? So it's all kind of questions that we're going to see kind of ramp up here. And these first couple of days of camp, most of the stuff is really cookie cutter, like, hey, day one stuff. And we're not getting into game plans and how we really want to attack people. It's, let's go run our rules, make sure that, all the basics and the fundamentals are right there. So we're not really seeing like the whole full picture of what the, the 2026 LA Rams are going to look like.
It's interesting because you don't have any context when it comes to other NFL training camps, because you've been with the Rams your entire season, your entire career. It made me think, how must Myles Garrett be feeling when we saw him walk onto the field? We were like, that is a grown, he looks just like when you're the large toddler among the, he just looks so.
Yeah, he looks like a creative player off of Madden. Like, hey, let's make him 6'5", but give him a 6-pack. But let's make his arms like prime Arnold back in his lifting days. And so it's it's like let him 40. Yeah, let's make it a 4.3. 45-inch vertical. Why not? Throw it in there. Who cares? It's a video game. And all of a sudden, this guy comes walking out, and you're like, I didn't know people were supposed to be made like that. Like, this guy's lab grown. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
it's totally lab grown.
Right. And then you see him do get off drills and you're like, what is that? Like, did the video skip? Did my eyes skip? Did I blink and I missed it? Like, I mean, he's an incredible athlete.
Yeah, and that was brought up to Stafford, right? About, finally Myles Garrett's on the field, Stafford gets to be here. I mean, it just feels like the anticipation. McVay is never not smiling, by the way. Never not smiling. High fives left and right. You're seeing it's a nice energy to build off of last season into this year. Even Nakua had like this wild one-handed catch. I was like, that was impossible. Like literally, that was an impossible catch, and it was Puka just being Puka. But when you had Stafford at the podium, he said, going against Myles Garrett, iron sharpening iron. And he was talking about how he's like a chess match of a play when you're up against. Can you explain what that means? He said when the times that he's played Myles Garrett, it's like a chess match of a play going against him. What does that mean?
Yeah, so you got to make sure your pieces are in position to go ahead and get this done. This isn't checkers where you can just kind of, hey, I'm going to move one guy over here and forget about over there. It's like, there's a whole strategy to making sure that, you get this guy kind of boxed in. And especially with, us having Erin all those years when I was going through training camp, like, I'm not exactly sure how they're doing this year. I'm waiting on the FaceTime and the call from the boys to really get the good insight about how practice is going. We didn't treat Erin like Erin in training camp. Like I said earlier, we're kind of, it's just kind of rules ball. And like, that's just number 99 or that's just number 95 out there. Like he's just a D end. And I want to say one of Erin's last years, we actually started double teaming him and sliding to him where, he was all mad about that. But I'm not sure how they're doing it this year. I'm sure because it's on the edge that they are providing some presence for everything just because he's who he is. But in years past, Sean has kind of just played a little bit of rules ball. But with Matthew having said that, like you're playing chess against him, I'm sure there's a little bit of aspect of we do have an elite rusher out there. We're not totally game planning for a Myles Garrett right now because luckily he's on the Rams and we don't actually have to do that. But there will be some sort of added element to make sure that he's not just running wild out there.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, what must these guys be thinking and feeling? And on top of it too, one of the things that McVay addressed the media immediately with, and I appreciate this because I grew up in LA and I remember 1984, the Olympics were here. That was a big year for us. And my family from being here from LA forever. 1,000 tickets were given to 10 nonprofits by LA28 and the Rams. And so the thing that McVay said that I really appreciate was Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Rams, loves to use this platform to give back and to help with the community. And I thought, that's nice that those are things that are important because I think the next few years in LA, you've got Super Bowl here, you've got the Olympics. It's a great opportunity to get some spotlight on things that matter. And when you have an NFL organization or any organization that doesn't have to, but opts to give back, it seems very sincere. And it seems like that's something that McVay is passionate about, but also the owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Mr. Kroenke's always been great with that. And Kevin Demoff, I believe it's COO, like the way he speaks, you can tell it's coming from a genuine place and like giving back to Los Angeles. And that's, that gets trickled down to Sean, which gets trickled down to the players. And you saw Big Wit and AD out there running their trenches camp. Matthew Stafford presents a check to a local school. Like it's just really fun stuff going on. And so that doesn't happen without your owner and your leadership and your head coach really, truly believing in using our platform for the best. Cause we are playing a game out there, it is a football game, to really make a difference, in the city that you're in.
I saw when I was at camp, so many young kids
Mhm.
And the fact that these players that like they look up to you guys so much, and when you can just give them, I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of hope. I remember I have a girlfriend whose son is on the shorter side. She said,
Sure.
oh, my son is so he's not going to ever play sports like a pro athlete. I said, you should look at this video of McVay doing an interview recently. It was a couple months ago, and he had said, I'm going to try to find another way to impact change and help and be involved in this game. And honestly, he's like the biggest influence in NFL, at least, in
Mhm.
terms of coaching. And just to see that you can impact young people. And LA seems to be doing that right now. The Rams seem to be doing that. A lot of just really great energy in the building, the facility. And like you said, yes, August 7th is when the Rams wrap things up and then go to Woodland Hills. There's what is it? Scrimmages, right? With the
Mhm.
Saints and the
Yep.
Cowboys.
Saints and the Cowboys. Yep.
They did the same thing last year,
Yep.
but that's why these training camp practices and even these scrimmages, because starters just don't play during the preseason. So you don't have any game action a couple weeks before the season, at least with the number ones.
Yeah. No, 100% true. Sean takes those joint practices like they're the preseason games. He takes the kind of inter squad scrimmages like their games, like their preparation. So like the emphasis that Sean puts on practice that I was talking about earlier, that just carries over even more when you get to go against another body. And the Saints are obviously down in Orange County, so they're real easy to get to. The Cowboys are up in Oxnard, so they're real easy to get to. So I would assume, unless there's an away trip, it's going to be either the Cowboys or the Chargers or the Saints for years to come, just because they're in close proximity. But yeah, it is different. When I was young in the league, you're out there and you're playing maybe a series or two in the first game and then a little bit more of the second game and then most of a half, maybe into the third quarter for the third game and then taking it down on the fourth. And Sean's kind of changed that narrative, and you see a lot of other teams going towards it. So the players need to take the scrimmages too seriously because they won't get live action like that. To where, especially as an offensive lineman, like if you go and you lollygag and you mess it up and practice, it's like, you can't really hit my quarterback. I'm sure I'm going to get a chewing out in meetings, but it's like, what are you going to do? And then all of a sudden, game one, they can hit your quarterback, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
was I really preparing the way I need to go?
Yes.
And so, like I said, Sean's all about communication, so that's being communicated. The importance of those scrimmages are being communicated, and so everyone has heard the same story and the same narrative over and over again. Now it's up to the players to go ahead and get that thing done. But Erin, I did want to ask about your opinions on day one to day two. Obviously, day two had a Matthew Stafford in there, doing whatever he does. But I have my own personal views on the first bit of training camp of how that goes offense to defense and what usually happens. But I kind of want to hear your opinion on, what'd you see out there? Who stood out? Was there really any downside, or did someone just do something good?
Yeah, actually, thank you. You jogged my memory because I was like, oh, I need to remember to bring this up because I think it's interesting that day one was the backups and it was Stetson and obviously it was Ty. And that day, the defense looked really good.
Yep.
Day two, Stafford, obviously they are preserving Matthew Stafford's bandwidth. This is his 18th season. He knows what he's doing by now. They're in management mode with this guy. So he's not playing at training camp, obviously, every single day, but he was involved in the offense day two, and he looked like postseason he looked incredible. Therefore, the defense didn't look as good. So then it made us all ask the question, are the backup quarterbacks, are the Rams going to roll into the season with a Stetson and a Ty Simpson, do you think that they would they feel comfortable? Will the Rams feel comfortable with a rookie and Stetson? And I know Stetson's been on the team for a few years, but I just wonder if he's taken that step that the Rams feel good about to really trust him with that number 2 role.
That's a good question. That's a great question, Erin. And that's something it was from his year 1 to year 2, there was such a jump. Obviously he had that kind of time off and kind of self-reflection about, getting himself back to a good place, to having fun playing football again and having fun going through the process. And kudos to him. He did that. I mean, he really did. A lot of people don't come back from that. And so what he was able to do in his year-to-year jumps has been great. I haven't seen any film of kind of what it looks like now, but if you were to tell me that backup quarterback was starting off day 1, I would expect 1,000% the defense were to look great. Because all the ones out there, whether it's the offensive line hearing the plays, the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, they're used to Matthew's voice, Matthew's cadence. And so when it's different, because, most of the offensive line, they'll turn around and they'll look at the defense while the play's being called, unless it's a loud environment and I need to go ahead and read his lips. But if training camp, you can hear everything, right? So your ear's in there, but your eyes is downfield looking at what you got. Is it 3 down? What's happening? Where are the safeties? All that fun stuff that, goes on in an NFL game. And so when the voice changes, they're going to spit it out a little differently. And so they might not hear a certain something and have to bring their head back to be like, wait, what'd you say? Well, it's on what? We're doing, what now? Just because Matthew has such a way of saying it. And if you accumulate all those reps with him, it just kind of falls in. It's like, that's home to me. When it changes a little bit, that's kind of where things come in. And to, state the obvious, they're fighting for the backup role. Yeah, you know what I mean? So there is a difference in a Matthew Stafford to a Ty Simpson and a Stetson Bennett. And that's not a knock on those guys. That's a praise of Matthew's greatness. And so if the number 2 quarterback, whoever it is, comes out and just lights up our starting defense, then I'd be worried. So I would expect a little bit of downtime. As long as everything is running crisp and the operation is going well, and maybe it's just, a floated ball here or something here, and no one's jumping off sides too much. Like, that's a successful day. And then that's something to build off of, because luckily they're not playing a game right now, and they're not playing a game right now with the backup quarterbacks.
Well said and fair point, because I think you're absolutely right. The contrast should be a contrast. The defense should thrive better, and when Stafford's there, should be a better matched situation. So I think that's actually really a great point to add to the conversation. That otherwise,
and plus, with practice with no pads, like that's obviously I'm biased. I'm going to say that right now. So, a bunch of defensive guys are going to watch this and be like, he just, doesn't care about defense. That's not true. I care about y'all, but I'm biased and I'm okay saying that. It's hard to play offensive line and no pads.
Okay.
It's tough. It's semi hard to play it on defense, but it's harder on the offensive line. And so things are going to look a little different, look a little weird. You're not really in the full Monty of the run game because you don't have pads on. You don't want somebody to get a collarbone or bang up a shoulder, going helmet to shoulder or clavicle or something like that. So it's play calling's a little different. It's a little more reserved, a little more passing. And so maybe you're not in the normal groove that you would be when you had pads on. You can play what Sean calls real football.
Yeah. And boy, Sean is, like I said, very happy right now. He is in a good mood. He's pretty much always in a good mood, but this year you feel the energy, the excitement, the fans. I love asking the fans, like, what are you most excited about? I'm listening to hearing, what they say in the stands, because it's cool, because it's so inviting. Rams training camp, they have like cornhole game, they have games, and sometimes they define activations for nonprofits or organizations to give back. I just think that stuff's really, really great for the community, and also it's nice that the team has something to be excited about this as they head into the season, especially after the tough loss that the Rams had to deal with in the NFC Championship game. So, well, listen, we appreciate you as always. Love the new backdrop. Yep, there you go. Of course. I think let's do this again. There's plenty to talk about, but I know camp is camp time for those kiddos.
That's right.
So, tell Megan thank you as always. We appreciate her and all the support that is nice too. McVay he said actually, which was something you said. He said, I had asked him, now it's year 10. What do you appreciate most? He said, it depends on where you're at in your life. He has 2 boys, he said. He appreciates his wife, Veronica. He's like, it's different now. I feel it differently, which is what you said.
Yep. It changes you. It changes it for the better, especially when you're about the right stuff. And I know Sean is. And before we go, Erin, I just want to get a shout out real quick to my boy, Coleman Shelton. Happy birthday, man. Our center out there commanding the troops. It's his birthday. He's got to go during camp every year. One of the worst times to have a birthday. So I just want to say happy birthday, Coleman.
Happy birthday, Coleman. By the way, people all the time come up and say, I love Rob on the show. So
Thank you.
We hope Coleman is also a listener. Coleman, happy birthday. And we've got more Ram stuff coming at you. Stay tuned, Rob. Appreciate you. Thanks, guys, for listening. You know the drill. Subscribe, rate, review, all the things. All right, next time. We'll see you. Thanks, guys.